Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Sé Claare na Gael viscular scalienis as befiliam shuish altacha. Hello, my name is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
And it's my pleasure to present this programme which is called Claare na Gael, and in which you'll hear something of the English language, as Angie Nis Nishu Clash and Ridanach Jen Gilg, and in which as well you'll hear something of the Manx Gaelic, Jen Yanamera, the mother tongue of Ellen Vanning, the Isle of Man. As Banach and Urish. We heard recently about a visitor to the island from September to December in 1795. The previous year, David Robertson had a book published about his return visit to the island in 1791. We've dipped into parts of that in Claare na Gael before now, particularly about the wreck of the herring fleet. Tashin Clash and Vianolu Abraham Van Helsing, os Dracula ag a traiton, as the blast Jory Ega ons Lord Seville, ach nach hedon leis Count Dracula heen sa skiel shaw, chaus tammy Laimach and skiel shaw, chadjinum a coreba jino arisje and blas ega a chorer be, chaus tammy ginst you a skiel. We start by jumping forward to midnight, mainlich an acarseid. Midnight, not at the Oasis, but at the anchorage, with RUNRIG. Tashu geistach rish radio vanning, Stasiwn yr asiwn, Viscol ar Sgaliena, Wastúlish, Ellen Vannin.
Cryniachig my fwgolis, my fwchroes. A cosiach, sy syddi, sy cadesh na heichi. Trúndag a chwared ash, na blianach yn apach yn grai. Am baculke, arstenashi, wakadoi, kaula van. Shundag a chlaridash, Janeike, galwach, scalma. His yn grwch ystol, de wat y station. His na girig yn y gtar. Garna heina, jiman, jiblei, Spelen platers for Kvie baia kleina That is rishna Rungus and jesti klai
RUNRIG spending midnight on the anchorage, Meadhan acarseid. Now, David Robertson's 1794 publication is dedicated to J.C. Kerwin. Now, he'd been born John Christian at RUNRIG Hall in what was then Cumberland. He was born in 1756. But he was heir to the Christians of Milltown as well as of RUNRIG. He married Margaret Tubman of Mullew, but she died after only 3 years. And then 4 years later he married his cousin. She was Isabella Kerwin. And after 8 years of marriage, he also took her surname. I think that was probably something to do with how her inheritance was to come to her. She had to be a Kerwin to inherit. And so John Christian became John Christian Kerwin and also a very wealthy man. John Christian Kerwin was well known for his agricultural interests in Cumberland and for the introduction of modern methods of farming into the island here, where he set up a branch of the Workington Agricultural Society and gave awards for quality livestock and produce. He was elected as an MP for Carlisle, but he was also a member of the House of Keys. John Christian Kerwin, then, was the dedicatee of David Robertson's book that we're going to look at the first part of. Tan Abraham Van Helsing scriwrish yn fairly John Seward, teirw'r ersen de hietas de scrútach Lucy Westenra, as een fiance ex an Hon Arthur Holmwood, tashen burit de moor mechion stede lent Lucy. Tan Abraham Van Helsing scriwrish yn fairly Seward masaw. Inch de chara, an tre shen renu Joel Jane Lotem, Getavi, nieuwe gangrien, fijn skin ren cara elje ein, roim neach, liege tusjem, renu na smoe han, tret giri na sessen kuniem, as tau moru, na vodach ulju na fortun moorege genu. Ach, ma hatjes elje de jinne wassel je, as en gara eds, hoods tammy chit. Liek de schemeren bij hem, shege taaier Great Eastern, de vodem we fagestat, sans gesollig fuddy de bim feem chit bakkesoor an die shen. Ach, me vis feemer nim chit rish trielain na san me, as tanachten na soja me vis feem. Der shen, sledden ed mechara John Van Helsing. As nish. Music from Brittany now. It's sung by Mona KERYS with Jeff le PENVEN on piano.
Ken merai ora beni che geten avara uding e geten avara apacus che Pouloupig qui shen va guere paurding a Meadhan os pinvidi gane ola galoir. Ken teirw'r davus war zik gen prim gurus des ding gen prim gurus des un dahen u Pouloupig dans le niet e credi si quel damsel birvidi ane olev aloir. Ken glan yodur da zeilig gen lava glisnos gline gen lava glisnos beb tropet mam Pouloupig li biedas juchorodi ne veron mam rosedi sa veol da con loin.
A recording from 1958 by Mona KERYS with Jeff Le PENVEN on quite progressive piano there. It was a traditional song called Pouloupig. Skriwen and fairly Seward gus an Hon Arthur Holmwood, and traslé main fawr. Ma art wien. Te Van Helsing jit, as all. Henke rosh merem gus Hillingham. As hoorshin, Joris Kreenach Lucy, de rauwe voir Gael kerbel moei, de raushin en lummek en Mary. Ren Van Helsing scrutach wie gerelach Jane Sorrensach. Neer cor toeristel douw as nim cor corl Dutch, nos on shigeris na raumi kion fenish ol you en trei. Strailiam grey de wel imne moeregge, ach, te grey de wel fame smunjen. Tre dinch me de mechion de geurtjes as een nachtouw co treishonum se gush door te sign dot inch de gamelishel sign dot inch de ulju a smunjened inch de a smunjenems na de su corche ber me bewailiat de jaru genel mi spotjel genei spot shaw ach bees fes fodin a smoeneshen Vrami J creve menel jor shen no drawi fi trom chushach. Although little is known about the author, David Robertson, it seems he was in post in the island as a customs officer in the 1780s. This then is the opening of a tour through the Isle of Man, to which is subjoined a review of the Manx history by David Robertson Esquire. Chapter 1. View of the island from sea. A smuggler. Douglas Bay. The salmon fishery. Desirous of revisiting a country endeared to me by the remembrance of past pleasures, I devoted the summer of 1791 to a tour through this island. The prospect of meeting once more with the few friends and companions which time had left me on the island seemed to invite me thither. And from tracing the progress of refinement in manners, the advances in agriculture, the new channels of trade and commerce, and the benign influence of the British government, maybe slightly not a reliable witness there, but anyway, the benign influence of the British government, I promised myself no inconsiderable degree of mental pleasure. Gael Mulligan playing the uilleann pipes from his first album, Bar na Cúlia.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn, sien radio fanning, as yn sio sé Claare na Gael. Ysgol sgelien y cartnish, mish Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach, sien na grey.
Ever heard tell of our Bobby Bob?
With this flattering prospect, writes David Robertson, I sailed from Whitehaven in one of His Majesty's cutters. Evidently he still held a not insubstantial office if he could arrange to sail to the island in a Royal Navy vessel. As the day was delightfully serene, in a few hours observed the mountains of Mona breaking from the ambient clouds. On a nearer approach they afforded us a sublime and picturesque view. Mountain piled upon mountain, extending in a lofty range for many miles, in the centre of which Snaffield, with awful grandeur, lifted his brow to heaven and seemed proudly to claim the preeminence. The bold and rugged coast next demanded our attention, as, even at a league's distance, it seemed to threaten us with approaching ruin. In some places it sunk into deep and gloomy caverns, and in others was overhung with frowning precipices, while the solitary screeches of the sea mews united with the wilderness of the scenery to fill the mind with an awful melancholy. Fy sio trefashin ergit bac gysafalia, as fe goel caban de hay, rosh me gawi toiach der golbac as Amsterdam. Ha jinnach e cordaw lieder bi soja. Sain dutch gin ve corri romart, nod de wel een ier lees de egge, meenel de wel ulju na enjen egge gavrige kaure voorsek. Neer lort bachtel de loer tret en tre chit bi shigerit. Maar so, dinch mi de jinnen nach skriw kunte jane geertain, kart maar de beiden skriw art sailji lies on the Daily Telegraph. Fe gin nach dugge Gael, ach dimreie na rauw na smidden an ons lunning, kart geholkes vad treve na studer on sjo. Niem gedden en toeras legge leine verach, meus ke de oorlige sjen. Creer bi een acht, bi skriwen hem. Wel, bentend en geert van Lucy na skinnel na wie en laelje honnig meish hayacht, as son shigeris vi gin na share. Te cho sha pertjen chum a skenach ren burrow huish a skadjen van tarn enelek. Well, let's enjoy some pasties and cream with Sue White, although there's something here which may not be quite the aid to digestion that some people would like.
I sing of a county of pasties and cream, of pilchards and herrings that sparkle and gleam in the dear old county of Cornwall, the land of pasties and cream, the land of the miners and fishermen bold, the land of the smugglers in stories of old, where men dear old county of Cornwall, Cornwall.
the constant repetition of county didn't put you off your pasties and cream. I know at least one person that would be spitting feathers listening to that. It reflects its vintage, of course, lyrics written by Herbert Thomas in 1903 and set to music by George Sellers. And there it was sung for us by Sue White. Fi village fi den alw marti de kinjach, as huggie ber core ganesege. Ge de vod in fag en de rauwe ben eeg walk streppe de kraaie sen. Tammy krel de wak van Helsing enius, no de wak me a shilje bew voor de moljen mollachege, a shown doward vine de shaan lane. Eis gauwe toiach der lortenchon de chuljuchush limme jingen heen, as jay dochenen, as leslje de gingelis been, de vod in fagen en ach for Lucy ligge de rauw briek co veste lesriechid. Eis, gin jeen de chachlei, renne sture a colortus de meal, gus a chierdegge, as doort hij de ginnel, ma inne eegwien. Te tatnis gemoer, no de wel graai gemoer oort. Shen moerein me wien, de rauw rieuw, shen wel mi fagen. Dinch mi dau de rauwus ljagriach, as de rauwus geniele scan. Dousen tammy grey, poef, as renny krikkel a weer orm. In a little I discovered under the shelter of Mackle's Head, and Mackle's Head is glossed by David Robertson as a huge promontory. In a little I discovered under the shelter of Mackle's Head a small vessel lying at anchor. It proved a smuggling boat, laden with wine, rum, and tobacco, and had sailed from Laxey on the preceding night, but, unable to reach the English shore before morning, had retired under the high land, in expectation that the ensuing night would prove more favourable. But how delusive are the hopes of mortals! Being soon discovered by the cutter, the boat was without any opposition seized, and the crew transported aboard our vessel. The insulting exultations of the sailors and the gloomy silence of the smugglers formed an affecting contrast. The owner of the property had in his air somewhat superior to the rest. His countenance strongly expressed shame and sullen anguish. He retired to the corner of the vessel, wringing his hands. Well, this is the first and title track of a CD by Shaw Slant. It's Paul Reynolds' song, Snuff the Wind.
Snuff the wind, run the rain, ride a gale, take the strain. Snuff the wind, run the rain, ride a gale once again. We rail against the elements, against all common sense. The wind pushes us around, lifting us off the ground. Snuff the wind. Snuff the wind, winter's day, scudding clouds, skies are grey. Snuff the wind, winter's day, scudding clouds, sunshine rays. We stand neath the granite wall, while icy raindrops fall. Gusting winds abound, creating eerie sound. Snuff the wind. Snuff the wind, chimney tall, standing proud, ravens call. Snuff the wind, chimney tall, standing proud, another squall. Memories linger here, echoes of
the Wind, written and performed by Paul Reynolds. I heard him exclaim, "Now I am ruined indeed. How shall I return to my wife and family?" He'd once seen better days. By his father he inherited a small estate in Cumberland. But, one misfortune rapidly succeeding another, it was first deeply mortgaged and then sold. To retrieve his misfortunes, he engaged in this illicit trade, and had imprudently risked in this first enterprise the fragments of his fortune, thereby involving a young and numerous family in unexpected ruin. I frequently endeavoured to mitigate his sorrows. They wouldn't, however, admit of consolation. His distress I represented to the commander of the cutter, but, though he pitied his calamity, no intercession could then avail. This incident I preserved, as it presents an awful warning to those who, from infatuation or habit, prefer this hazardous and illicit manner of acquiring wealth to the slow but more certain gains of honest industry. Before sunset, the breeze, which had hitherto proved favourable, died away. Haer. Ach, ní osses mis seilje gemacht dou kregen jou gatas tad. Krenacht odders eschen, as renne Sheena mag meer arm leschen shilje as a gourig hedden as renne Sheena mag meer arm roos nish, se vraaslegge kuurt erouw. Na de week kaart luggen geert er lieschen, na welly riw felieel de gormions kunjen jay. Tiggle weg, mechjan mrein egge. Den a vier wenrig egge meer u de klei. As de chor aru man resrish, as dousen de graiach aru. Te moeren de jinnu, as o te ounderen on, de vodmuch corlie de vanres slai. Ach, na mrein egge. Genel ben chesje na nien egge, as genel na vier egge inch men in gjon hien den a vier egge, ach den a schaansteren, gurren pien, as vissein immedi seegden, as na orn en son. Maar samen wien, niemelijk korrersule de smuggel te jean segere, chaus de osses misch gold kouwag weg na maastein hien. Well, we heard Welsh piper John Toes last time, and I mentioned that he and his daughters, Danny and Mickey, play in a group along with two other friends, and there we heard them, the group called ESTRON.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Siodiw stasiwn na nasiwn, radio fanning, as cartnes she Claare na Gael was reclashen, Meadhan Peen, Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
Hig me and fow, as the ren me talkel me geert, as look tamel tanken alugus en unjeg, as hug morm de hitstjach on. Ve jean trom hushach, ach dorte, Tamje njunu scrutach kerelach, ach genel or faunuach on. Ruts tammy cordeel de wel moerein voel, vee kalch. Wie on, ach genelli en chen. Ach Chanelus dedec y chor je anemia. Tam a vraiach G de chor dawen in a velek, de vod een braiach G is feest na ge, nach bi kedau call weg. Ta vis mai na bi greetjak. Ach, na jai, ta or on, ta de kinjach ors on de chuljurid. Sein dau gul tai riches munionair. Sein dut korchelgram dau dach lei, as me vis or a hon nim chit rish. Tan dochen, son de wei as lent shen dochen, simoil dau. As a nien village egg, ti simoil dau nis, ti taatnisach. As a son, man a veli de hon son a dochen, tammy chit. For some time we would be... start that bit again, eh? For some time we were becalmed in the Bay of Douglas, which, in the form of a crescent, extends for 3 miles from Clare Head to Douglas Promontory. The evening grew more and more serene. The setting sun threw a beautiful veil of light over the mountains, and the evening sky gave a ruddy tinge to the scarcely heaving ocean. A few straggling fisher boats were moving homewards. The verdure of the fields, the wood-circled hamlets, the flocks scattered over the mountains, and the smoke curling from the town of Douglas improved the landscape and offered a pleasing contrast to the gloomy scenes we'd lately passed. Douglas Bay is spacious, and the neighbouring high lands render it an asylum from the tempests of the north, west, and south, but to the storms of the east it's greatly exposed. Both points present a dangerous and rocky shore. A variety of fish is here caught in great abundance. Now, the tune of this song is more often thought of in a Scottish context as Westering Home, but it's got lyrics in Irish and is popular in Irish language primary schools, and to sing it for us, these are na acarseid.
Winter
na Cassidy, and they were sailing Trasna na Donta Gocherin, Tessin na Tonan Glisnierin over the waves to Ireland. So a variety of fish is here caught in great abundance in Douglas Bay. The cod is a high luxury, and the salmon, though small, equals in delicacy and flavour the choicest in England, and during the months of July, August and September is very plentiful. This fishery has been claimed by the Duke of Atholl as one of his manorial rights. Now, the Duke of Atholl at the time was John Murray, the 4th Duke. It was his father, also John, the 3rd Duke, who'd sold his regalities to the Crown in 1765, but not the manorial rights. David Robertson continues, "Since the sale of the island in 1765, this is talking about the fishery, has been deemed the property of the Crown, and by the Lords of the Treasury is at present let at a sum greatly inadequate to its value. When the lease expires, whether government will at an advanced sum renew it or restore the fishery to the Duke of Atholl will depend on the report of the 5 commissioners lately appointed by the Crown to investigate the equity of His Grace's demands." Well, in fact, David Robertson was visiting the island in 1791. These commissioners visited the island in 1792, and in fact they ended up agreeing with the Duke's view that the original price paid in 1765 had been too low. Mar tam I ginstwch, charawe arltach de grei fogelelia, trefashin in Lummacan. As niseshar, ta fissed de choliurid a Sean Duse, nim frail ara gir, Tammy tres jail de vel de bach vishiche. She rid aglach gin aurus de han, machian wun je veen, de vee ons liede steed de feich, as na nischo en oil dutch. Ta fisse mer naed, de churm de as tau kjart de airte sen. Ach, ma vis fe mer, nim cor vis dutch de kietje lirach gus Lucy. Ma so na bi roim neach, man a velu clashen vorm. Gilen and Fairly Seward and Cherolai main fower. Tan surrensach zuo fegach, fos freelrish de weesim moildun. Gerouwig onvout al toene zeggen, as vershen jay eg trein jou gagen. Kaat rosh moreni boele mun lai, gauwe toiach der chit de veen jou feeg. Ve eg en ten jailach na kourigen, as aslauwer any sumna kuna. Now, more water for us, but this time falling from the sky. Sam Kelly takes lead vocal with Cornish band The Changing Room.
Salvi an vor latron in o pres, na relansi o feda. Nam dalo taldrin base Gwyth y fe Anta wolgo don in nos Le maitin a lefo in nos Cyd y fe Handa wol a dro A ten fi dro yn sada Codd gan syman a fo Gyd fi Bydd o lugar nedd o sos, bydd yn comol an tol dredd o hol o tos. Grelol glaw, a wel an mi is dos in saw. Grelol bras rel sor, dons araf, dones war neb cor. Catchely, Marta lethis mos ein same. Pan drodd I waf yn cynia fan I ddydd im holnain Syns fi a beth nym gath y fos a gwyth fi sobys gwynto. Grelo glaw, a wel a mi is dos in saw. Grelo bras, grelo sor, dons araf, dones war heb ko. Genef dos ko as goslan, goch mi glan, kolon lam in bran. Sens vi a beth nam gaste vos, gwyth fi sobes gwynto. Grelo glaw, a wel a ni'n is dos in saw. Grelo bras, grelo sor, dons araf, dones war neb cor. Grelo bras, grelo sor, dons araf, dones war neb cor.
Grelo Glaw, Let It Rain, written by Tanya Britton, who played the accordion there, and her lyrics were sung by Sam Kelly, who also played guitar. And there was Jamie Evans on banjo and Morrigan Palmer Brown on harp. De hoil ren de deinje rai hugge, as wat kartons tre, son gouds vee boele mun lei, henke de vee go rachtel de rauwe goil ulju een jaar toch de gommele. Ach, look mus kwek minid, gauwe toiach der chit de vee na skune, as verjere, renne sinkeel en soors de gole doe, as a steed shen, teer tannachten gouds nish. Now, the Duke of Atholl had been made governor of the island and at first seemed to be generally accepted by the populace. However, his constant pushing of his case to get more from his father's sale of the island led to the family being characterised by the House of Keys and others as the Grasping Murrays. And we've been hearing about them partly because we've been looking at the opening chapter from David Robertson's book about his return to tour the island in 1791. We close with Scottish band The Whistlebinkies. On an earlier album from 1977, the Whistlebinkies had been joined by a certain Charles Gard on harp. However, this is from the Whistlebinkies' Albanach album, made 30 years later, and this is a track called Captain Celtic, including Rona Mackay here playing the clarsach. Chris Pearson will be here at 7 with 2 hours of the best chill-out music through to 9 o'clock, and then Judith Lay is in to present Sundown. Ach, Shene Nish. As ma saw, this is Robert Cutting-Carswell, Robert the Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve, I'm a Crieriu, as Ortser Ye, as my Yeri and Shed you will you.